All right, guys. Today I'm going to talk to you about deload weeks, the importance of them, when you should do them, and like why, and what is the goal behind the deload week, and what are we accomplishing here? So with the deload week, what we're doing is reducing the amount of fatigue that we've built up over the previous block to help prepare us for the next upcoming block. The previous 3 weeks I've done. This is my fourth week of the block. Previous 3 weeks I've done has been increasing the difficulty. On that last week, I was wanting a deload week. I could feel my body fatiguing. Although I was strong, I could feel how fatigued my body was. So now this week on the deload week, what I'm doing is I'm decreasing the amount of volume I'm doing, and I'm decreasing the amount of intensity I'm doing to help my body recover and prep me for the next block. All right, here we go. This is a lighter weight, 275, than what I did previously. Last week I did like 420 for one. This week, just doing 2 sets of 6, 275. It's a relative to my max. It's a lighter weight, but I'm feeling the fatigue because of the fatigue I've built up over the past 3 weeks. And 2 sets, that's just it. Just ready to move on to the next exercise. All right, so what do I mean by volume and intensity and things like that during your deload week? Let's say over the course of last block, you were doing 5 sets of 5 on, let's say, a single arm row or something like that. With, let's say, I don't know, 200 pounds or something. What you want to do is probably cut that volume to maybe 2/3 to almost a half of what you were doing previously. So if you're doing 3 or 4 sets, go to 2. If you're doing 5 sets, maybe go to 3. The intensity is where it can be manipulated a little bit more to what you personally like, right? So obviously you probably don't want to max out on your deload week, but what you could do is still work up to a heavy single. So, and again, this depends on the person. If you're a bigger guy like me, working up to a heavy single might be a bit too taxing, maybe not the way to go. But if you're a little smaller, maybe a little bit more novice to intermediate, you could probably get away with practicing a heavy single where you heavy in a sense that it's like maybe like an RP of 7, but light enough where you can really hone in the technique. On the deload week, what I really like to do is really focus on that technique. That means if I was benching, instead of just throwing up the weight, and I know when I bench, I have a tendency to have my shoulders rise. Well, this week on the deload week, I'm really going to be focusing on depressing the scap, depressing the shoulder, and making sure I'm going through a good full range of motion. Really focusing on position, focus on technique, focusing on the muscle if you're doing bodybuilding. So if I'm doing this row here, instead of just, you know, haphazardly rowing on a deload week, no, I'm really focusing in on that lat, trying to feel that lat, refining my technique, refining the action. So it's not a just go through the motions kind of week. No, no, no. It's a refining your technique and perfecting the movements of the week. So this way, although you're not stressing yourself as much as your normal training week, you're still getting reinforced movement patterns in a good way, and we're keeping our fitness level up high. That fitness level or that stimulus is basically your mm, your ability to output work, right? So let's say we build up to a 405 bench. I want to keep my stimulus, that 405 bench, up high. But with that, I've built up some fatigue. So I just do enough volume, enough intensity to keep those gains that I've made while dropping that fatigue down. So we don't want to it's called detrain. Detraining would mean that I'm losing the strength I built up, right? So we want to keep that up high, and we want to I don't want to say maintain, because we're not just maintaining, we're maintaining the strength we built, but we're decreasing that fatigue. So then when I go into the next block, strength is up high, fatigue is down here, and I can continue to build without the fatigue interrupting everything I've done. All right, so now I'm going to hit these rows. And again, compressing my scaps. I'm really focusing on the work here, the technique, feeling the muscle. 2, shoulders on 4, 3. Very nice. All right, so how often should you deload? The goal with training is to provide the maximal benefit stimulus that you can recover from, and then therefore you can make gains from, right? So if you go too much, you're creating a large stimulus, but you're not able to recover from it. It's it, the recovery is where the gold is. At the same time, if you do too little, uh, well, then you're not maximizing your potential, and either one, you're not going to be able to adapt and get better, or two, it's not going to be optimal, right? Now, with that being said, I believe most people are far more capable of doing a lot more and recovering from a lot more than they might be giving themselves credit for. Um, all right, back to that deload. So, how often should I take the deload? It all depends on your training, your planning, and like how you feel. So, I have some of my athletes will deload on the 6 week. So they'll have a 6 week block. They'll train hard, increasing intensity for about 5 weeks, and on that 6 week, they'll take a deload, and that's what they need. Now, myself and many other my other athletes will take a deload every fourth week. Week one is intense. Week two is more intense. Week three is at maximal, and then we take a deload on that fourth week. It all depends on what you need and what you can recover from, and what is best for you. So, working with a coach or really paying attention yourself is important when you're prescribing and writing your program to help you understand. To help better understand how I can progress most optimally, right? If you're doing a lot, if you're doing a lot of intensity, if you're doing a lot of activity more frequently, like I am, maybe a more frequent deload is necessary for you. Whereas if maybe you're not doing it as much, or the way I have my one athlete do, I have an intense week and then a mastering week. So I'll have him hit a certain weight one week, and then the second week we'll do the same kind of workout, but we're going to master that weight, and then we progress like that. So with a structure like that, where the stimulus is not necessarily always going up every week, we can probably delay the deload. Another thing too that is important is looking at your schedule. Let's say you're going to go on vacation for a week. You're not going to have access to the gym, and that's in 5 weeks from now. Well, maybe this time you're going to do a 4 week training block and have your deload be on that fifth week. So you'll be nice and fatigued and ready to take a break by the time you go on that vacation. You enjoy that vacation, and then when you get back, you're ready to go. All right. So I'm going to hit this for a tricep extension. Weeks previous, I've done 90 pounds for as many reps as I can, and then 75 pounds, and then 65 pounds. This week, all I'm doing is 2 sets of 12 with 65 pounds. Nothing fancy, but my intent behind this movement is to really feel and engage my tricep and make sure I am executing that technique perfectly. All right, just gonna finish up my workout here with some planks, 2 sets, 90 seconds each. Quick recap on the deload. What is it? It is a training week that we're going to reduce our volume and our intensity to allow us to recover and prepare us for the next block, right? How do we reduce our volume and our intensity? We're going to reduce our volume probably about from 2/3 to half of what we were doing previously. If I'm doing 3 to 4 sets, maybe I only do 2 sets. If I'm doing 5 to 6, maybe I do 3 sets. My intensity, this is going to depend athlete to athlete. In general, and this is what I do, I'm going to bring down my intensity to something around an RP of 5, an RP of 6, where I can really focus in on my form and my technique um, with substantial enough weight, but the weight is not going to be fatiguing to me. It's not going to disrupt what I'm planning on doing next block. How long, how often should I deload? Really depends on the athlete. Some athletes going to be pretty often. Myself, I do on every fourth week. Other athletes, if the program is appropriate, maybe they'll do it every 6 week or maybe even every longer. I would recommend having a scheduled deload though. Was the biggest game changer in my programming to help me boost my strength overall. Because what we're trying to do here is reduce our fatigue while keeping the fitness and the stimulus that we've built up high.